Hey to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 203 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here is the host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Scott Mitchell, and if you want to know what it would be like to have a conversation with Jesus, stay tuned. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Really exciting. We met Dr. Scott Mitchell, 5 years ago in California at CalJam.
Yep.
And it was such an honor to meet you. You're so respectful and humble. And we've just connected here and there since then. And I was like, hey, man, why don't we do a show? And here we are, episode 203 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. And welcome to our show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It'll be a good time. Hopefully we'll help some people out there and have some good conversation here.
Yeah, whenever you get a chance to talk chiro, talk the tick, I think a lot of people are really excited because it's a very misunderstood profession. And people think that, chiropractors do this, that, and the other, but chiropractors actually restore life to people and save lives from drugs and surgery. And I think that's a really important thing to understand when people listen to our show, is it's not all about, getting people out of pain, even though that's a really good conduit for people to understand why chiropractic is so effective.
Yeah.
But before we jump into all these awesome questions that we have for you today, as we always start our show out, would you mind just sharing with us your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
That's, everybody's got their own story, right? So actually really, really ironic. Yesterday, I had a retired doc come to my clinic and got adjusted. And he's a retired doc from Colorado. And I'm like, what's your story? What got you into chiropractic? Like a sporting injury. I'm like, dude, that's the same thing that happened to me. So my chiropractor, I started seeing one like when I was in high school. And he'd set up shop about a mile from my house. And in the middle of July in Arizona, he was going door to door in a suit and tie, telling people about his chiropractic clinic. I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah, he was.
I'm like, dude, wow. Richter, right? So my stepbrother hurt his neck, so he went and saw the chiropractor, and then I rolled my ankle as a soccer player. And they're like, well, let's go to this chiropractor. I'm like, well, whatever. I didn't know anything about chiropractic. I knew that they had something to do with backs. I saw my dad got adjusted when I was a kid. So I went to him for a sprained ankle, and he was a sports chiropractor. He worked on my ankle, and I was impressed. I was like, wow, I'd go to a traditional doctor and they would say, here's some drugs and some crutches, stay off for a couple weeks and, get back to it when you can, but he was actually hands-on, actually was able to do stuff with me. So I just started going to him for all my ailments. And then the more I was learning about it, kind of learning, seeing on his charts and walls, you do stuff with ear infections and things like that. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So for a while there, I was really torn whether to go the emergency medicine route or chiropractic. And when I was in undergrad at ASU, they had a real cool program to where I could do a year-long internship with a chiropractor, but was able to spend some time in the emergency room, shadowing the doctors. And I chose later on, chiropractic is definitely the way I want to go. When I could see what was going on, how he was affecting people's lives, and really making some good changes for people, and wow, I want to be part of that. So that's what got me into it with my chiropractor. And consequently, his dad was a chiropractor as well. And his dad was the president of the school that I decided to go to. So someone's here. Sorry about that.
I like dogs too.
Yeah. Someone's here.
So what are some things that make you unique or different in the chiropractic space?
I know, sorry, they'll shut up here in a couple minutes. I know with what, I'll go outside. Luckily, it's nice enough here to go outside. Is this good, okay?
Yeah.
I thought you were already outside.
I changed outside now. No, unique in chiropractic profession. I don't know. It's might be a cliche, but I seriously have been blessed with the ability. I mean, I was a pretty talented athlete, and that's one thing my chiropractor would tell me is like it takes a lot, some chiropractors to be really athletic and smart enough to be a chiropractor, because I think that takes both ends of the spectrum, and just really been blessed with some fast twitch fibers. So I'm a very good adjuster. I've seen a lot of patients that would get adjusted and like, wow, I've never had a chiropractor been able to get and move like that. So honestly, I've been very blessed in that aspect. And it took a while though to realize that, and kind of honing in the skills. And my chiropractor, he actually taught me how to adjust. So I went to chiropractic school having some technique in hand. So just building on that and just never stopping perfecting the craft. If there's a seminar or like every time I go, I get adjusted probably like 2-3 times a day when I go to different like Cal Jam and things like that. I just want to feel different techniques. And so if there's any students out there, that's to me, that's huge, and be really good at what you do. Like In-N-Out Burger, right? Not McDonald's. Like In-N-Out Burger's got a couple things on their menu and they're really damn good at it. The line is through the roof of those places, so that's where I've been real fortunate.
Yeah, I think, technique is something that chiropractors are kind of taboo about talking about. They're like, yeah, I shouldn't talk technique, or I shouldn't talk money, or I shouldn't talk like this, or I shouldn't talk that. But I think when a chiropractor understands that that's like the toolkit that helps them take care of their practice and build a quality of life, not only for themselves, for other people, that should be something that is their forte. And They should be like, yeah, I mean, we don't run if you wanted to give an analogy of football, we don't run like a West Coast offense. We run the ball offense. Yeah. And when you know what your skill sets are, that's how you win. And I think that chiropractic practice is no different. When you understand that your technique is something that's so important to building a good practice, you have to really understand that that's what we should talk about.
Well, it's what we do, man. I mean, it's, there was some confusion early in my career. I was kind of going out and starting a business is like, well, I was really a pain doctor at first, and it's rewarding. Like you were saying before, I was good at it, but it sucked. I was like, damn, I'm like struggling. I was making money, but not nearly as much as I thought I would. And so there was, I think it was a 2009 or so when I'm like, okay, this year I'm going to be a yes man. It's like you always get that shit in the mail, like as doctors, and come to this seminar, come do this thing. Like I'm going to just start saying yes to these things. And there was one that was before the New Year's, actually in November, and that was the guy who I did my coaching with. I don't know if I can. It was like Dr. Mark Hine. So it was a seminar on like nervous system restoration and nutrition. I'm like, that sounds cool. That's like kind of where I wanted to go with chiropractic. I always had this heart for what chiropractic really was restoration of the nervous system, but I could never get out of this little pain cycle that I was getting good at, and seeing like 20 people a day. It was 25 people a day. And so I went to his seminar, and that's, like, wow, this is cool to really start doing chiropractic. And once you get people out of that pain, because be honest, that's what brings people to the clinic, man. I mean, what, 1% of people? I have 3 new patients tomorrow, and they're coming in for wellness. So that's how often does that happen? Rare, So
well, symptoms sell. And chiropractic gets people feeling better.
Yep.
So if we could just go baseline and know that stuff, like we can, sort out a lot of the conversations.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we just got to kind of meet people where they're at too. I mean, people are going to come to you because they're hurting, man. And, but it's just our job as a doctor to be the doctor and teach them what education is and get that vital shift in their life. They can have that aha moment, like, so the same bone that's giving me a headache can also, cause high blood pressure and things. Yeah, it can mess up your world, dude. Like, wow, okay. So then they start to have these aha moments, and then you change, patients, then they become practice members, and then they're your tribe.
Well, it's change your mind, change your life mentality.
Yep.
And when you start to indoctrinate people with truth, it changes their tribe's mentality as well.
Yeah.
And then they don't come in for pain anymore. They're like, hey, can you take care of my baby?
Yeah.
Or I'm pregnant. Can you start taking care of me because I'm feeling this hip stuff? Or
Yeah.
I got like this like thing in the middle of my shoulder blades. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I can help. And it's actually going to make your pregnancy more productive and easier. And your delivery times are going to reduce. And then, yeah, I'll check the baby. So I think it changes the shift of knowledge. And I think that's kind of the next question I want to roll out to you is when you think about philosophy, how important is that to the profession? And do you have any favorite mantras or quotes that keep you fired up for the profession?
Wow, there's so many quotes. But, honestly, when I was a student, I would skip philosophy class. I was a Northwestern guy, right? So, like, we're putting our fingers in places we shouldn't be and doing all this shit that's like
light sockets.
Yeah, light sockets, exactly. Human light sockets. But so I did for a little while. I didn't put much stock into philosophy, and then a few years into my career, I started kind of getting into the philosophy aspect of it. And I think it's really, as we're going back to the art of chiropractic, which is our skills with our hands and whatever technique is we do. Whatever technique you do, you're going to get changes out of people. It's just what resonates with you, and will also resonate with your population or your patient base. But then there's the science and the philosophy to it, which is super important to, kind of dip yourself in the water, so to speak, and just kind of keep motivated, And I honestly, I use some quotes, but more of what I do, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but like watching drug ads and, seeing pamphlets for drug ads and seeing these pharmaceuticals. And that is like a thing that really drives me to keep a bottle of ibuprofen by my desk, and that's my enemy, and I use that as a lot of motivation to keep drive. And we all have shitty days. We have those days where life's rough, but then you look at like, what's the big picture? What are we trying to accomplish? And, watch some drug ads. It's not hard to find them, but,
I think they spend $1 billion a day.
Yeah. If not that, wow. Yeah. Yeah. If they were to switch we could talk a long time about that, but honestly, that is, cause that's, to me, and like talking to the choir here, but that is not health, and that has nothing to do with health. It's we get into a profession to make money, and I'm not going to lie about that. We make a good living, and we take care of people, but I think we do it in the right way. And raging against the machine is very helpful sometimes.
That's a good mantra.
Yeah.
So on the topic of accomplishing things, how do you think the world would change if everyone started getting adjusted?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think, pharmacology would have a big problem. I think that I know for sure that they'd be scratching and clawing and figuring out what's going on, and I feel that as a whole in the United States, for one, we got great emergency medicine, but our healthcare sucks. We have no healthcare. So I think that would be people actually really getting healthcare, and be a straight mix or whatever. But there's a diet aspect to it. There's a lifestyle aspect to what we do, and it's not only just getting adjustments, but it's also educating them on good lifestyle. And I think that people would be happier. Some of the research out of Wisconsin University and people's gratitude and how they're just healthier people. So I know people would be healthier. I know pharmaceutical use would go down, and not only would we live longer, people are living longer, but they're living longer in nursing homes, pissing their pants. So I think we would add real life to our years. And I think was it Reggie Gold that said life should be a candle burned bright from the beginning to the end, and I think that's what would happen to most people.
So from the way things are right now, where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years?
Ooh, that's a good question. Depends on who's in charge, right? I think the young leaders, the young chiropractors coming out of school right now have to get a grasp on what chiropractic is, and they're probably listening to this for the right reasons. And there's still some push to prescribe medications and things like that. And we need to be running the opposite direction and look at how the profession was founded. And, I know like you guys in Colorado, you guys got shut down, and that's kind of a hip check like there. Like, would I go to jail to practice? Hell yeah, I would, I would risk that. And I think if we head in the right direction and keep chiropractic really pure and continue with philosophy and really hone in on art and actually just in people, has a real good potential to really reach that critical mass. I really think it's going to grow, and hopefully we get a lot more people in school, because if we continue the trajectory we're going, because I do have some patients that will come like, hey, I know you guys can take care of ear infections. Like 10 years ago, you wouldn't hear that at all. So I feel if we keep hustling, right, we're gonna take off here. So,
well, hearing what you say, it resonates with our show, because we are kind of a rebel radio.
Yeah,
where we get a chance to speak the truth of this beautiful profession that sometimes is misunderstood, but we're bringing more clarity to it as well. And I think that that's really what it takes, is some of these questions we're asking you is we need more media leverage. We need people out there that are watching this right now to start sharing it. We need the people that we interview to share the assets with their practices. We need the people that we connect with to share it to their state associations, so they start understanding what the truth of the narrative is in the profession. Because a lot of times, like I said, when you show up to one of those conventions, you guys don't talk technique. You don't say who's got the best tail feather or who's peacocking the hardest. You guys, you pay attention, you take notes, and you go eat. And, you might talk about like superficial things like, hey, what workouts are you doing? Or like, hey, what protein are you taking? Or what type of supplements are you on? That type of stuff. But I think some of the questions that we ask people take the taboo out of chiropractic, and they make it more readily available for people to understand. And that's the real beauty of journalism. That's the real beauty of podcasting, is because when you niche into something and you understand the subject matter so well, you can bring on experts, and the experts that live it and breathe it and serve it. Like, that's when we transcend time and space. That's when people are like, wow, I never knew that chiropractors did it for that reason. And that's why the world is going to continuously get better, because when we start exposing the truth of real health, people just don't understand that that's chiropractic.
Yeah. And to me, chiropractic also, it's life. It's, if someone gets chiropractic care, their life is going to be better. Their life is going to transform in 3-6 months. Sometimes it takes some time. But your life is going to be better by getting chiropractic care, and knowing that. And it's not a huge burden, right? Just that people come to your clinic, their life's going to be better, but it's a responsibility too. And owning your craft and really never stop learning and getting better every day, because someone, tonight's going to be praying, like, I need some help. Like, what do I do? And
they're going to hear this message.
Yeah, and they're going to come to your clinic, and you have the opportunity to change your life for the better. It's fun, man. Like, it doesn't get old.
So sometimes chiropractic is the Hail Mary.
It is. Yeah. It's a lot too, right in the end zone.
And when we think about this, when I was a boy, I just thought about this. I never thought about this in 800 interviews. But when I was a little boy, my mom, she would go get adjusted every once in a while. And I don't know why this thought flashed into me, but there was a lady she worked with named Beth. And Beth and her husband would go get adjusted regularly. And I always heard that if you go get adjusted, you had to go for the rest of your life. And why would you go do that? And then I was thinking, as I've evolved after 11 years of being in this profession and understanding it from a fundamental level to a business level to a marketing level to every type of level. And I understand that one of the things people would always say, Dr. Scott, is, well, would you go to the dentist for the rest of your life? Why would you stop doing that? So the analogy transfers over really well when it comes to people understanding that, if I want to have perpetual quality of life, it's like going to the grocery store. Am I going to stop eating? No. Am I going to stop drinking water? No. Well, why would you stop taking care of your spine and your nervous system? It just doesn't make sense. But we have to bridge that gap of communication to people like me when I was a little boy. And my mom's like, yeah, if you go to the chiropractor, you have to go the rest of your life. Well, the interesting thing is that my mom, as she like advanced in her life, she would go to the chiropractor regularly.
Yeah. Well, sorry, you're born with a skeleton. It needs to be lined up correctly. And we're the only ones that can do it and do it well. But yeah, that on end, you know, for when you were going through that, it came to mind, like you'll see people out on the street or on the road jogging, right? Or riding, they're out there riding their bikes and they just look miserable.
Cross shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm running.
Why the hell would you do it? You're going to get them to do the same thing tomorrow, right? But that's just the misery that's just that. Then when you get done, you feel so much better. And like those highs come in, you know, and you're like, well, I'm going to get up and do the same thing tomorrow. I'm going to be miserable doing it, but you know, but it's part of staying healthy, you know?
I mean, how many times have you seen somebody running with drop shoulder or like anterior head carriage and there's like hustling around and you're like, oh gosh, if I could just adjust that person.
Well, you can also hear them clunk, clunk, like, yeah, your pelvis is off, everything's off.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
You can hear them spattering in the background. Like one leg's just slamming on the ground, the other one's like just tapping. Dunk, dunk. Yeah.
They need an orthotic and some foot flare correction.
Yeah. Well, that, you know, if you ever do, well, I hardly ever watch TV, but, you know, watching the news, which I have not watched in forever, but I always remember when looking at people's mug shots and they're always like this. They always like have a messed up atlas. Like, dude, someone needs to rock that dude's atlas and get their brain connected with their body so they quit doing stupid shit.
Amen.
So tell us, who are some of your heroes? And if you had to pick one person to have coffee with, who would it be?
Ooh. Well, I've got a lot of like sports heroes. Like, you know, like Pele was, growing up loving soccer. Like Pele would be a cool dude to chill with for a little bit. But then you go into the roots of our profession, like the BJ Palmer and Clarence Gonstead, and boy, you know, and to have lunch with one person, I could choose one person to sit down and like have lunch. It'd be Jesus. You know, like the nicest, coolest dude ever walked the earth, and just like was so grounded and knew what his goals were. You know, he wants to win, train people, and then send them off, right? So I use that motto in my clinic too, is to win them for chiropractic. You know, train them what it's about, and then send them out in the world and have them bring patients to me. You know, and but I could just imagine sitting down with him. I don't know if he would drink coffee, but have some wine maybe with him.
You'd probably learn how to be a carpenter.
Yes, yeah.
That's an epic answer.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit and get into this idea of growing a practice and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to you off camera, and I'm sure like every time that you like made a marketing decision, it didn't like turn up aces for you.
Yeah.
So maybe tell some people about like some of the things that you tried that didn't work, and maybe some things that you have done that have worked.
So when I started, some of the things I would do a lot of like networking groups and BNI groups. Those were pretty good, but you kind of get like into this little cult, you know, where you can only do business with they're pretty good, but they're really limiting, you know? So that was okay. And the funny thing is I still see some patients from some of those. So I wouldn't poo-poo those, but one thing I did was like door hangers. Nah, that was not very good. I even early on like went and personally hung them on doors myself.
Dr. Scott's in the trash.
Yeah, in the trash. Like, okay. So that was not a win to learn. But, you know, some of those things are just, you know, some people still have yellow page ads. Like, you know, I don't even know. My daughter saw, we just had the yellow page come to our she said, "What's that thing in the driveway, Dad?" And I said, "It's recyclable."
It's compost.
Yeah, it's compost. So definitely some of those, that was not a good thing, was the door hangers. But I had a real sweet patient, a real estate agent. She just became a real estate agent. So she's like, I'm going to make postcards and can I put your name on there? I'm like, sure. So I don't think I'll get anything out of it. But she was nice enough to do it and it didn't charge me. So to be determined on that one, because those just went out. So those were definitely some things that did not fare so well. So we like to, I don't think there's been one like grand slam. The grand slam is really providing good care and getting good results and then them telling their friends. So that to me has always been the best way that I've gotten new patients is from existing patients. I'd say half of my practice is half our new patients come from referrals.
And that's really old school marketing. Like, third party validation. Hey, this guy's awesome. He helped me. He can help you. And it's like if I was like looking for a dentist in Grand Junction, I'd be like, hey, Luke, who do you go see? Hey, Natasha, who do you see? Hey, Dr. Nick, who do you see? And by the time I got talked to 3 people, they'd be like, go to that person. And that's who I know who to go to. So that's really how people interact when they're having like, gosh, this neck thing. Hey, who do you go see? Well, I see Dr. Scott. Well, who do you see? Well, I see Dr. Scott. And by the time they get like a few Dr. Scotts, they're coming to see you. And, that's an easy person to like take care of because you're like, hey, how'd you find us? Okay, click that into my little like EHR. Oh, Jackie referred you in. Cool. Well, how many referrals did we have at the end of this week? 19. Awesome. Well, that means that you're taking care of people. And that's really that word of mouth metric that people want, but it takes a while to build that reputation in your community.
It does, yeah. And it's multiple base hits. You're not always you're not going to hit that grand slam all the time. So it's just planting seeds, getting multiple base hits, making sure you're asking for those referrals from patients. That's huge. It doesn't cost you anything to ask someone to, anybody that can benefit with what we do here, you've gotten great results. But then also there's the whole social media platform. There's websites. Can't really do events right now. We've never really done a whole lot of spinal screenings. I enjoy my Saturdays and Sundays, so never really done a whole lot of that. I know some people have, and they're really good at it, but it's just not something I've really done.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but I did 600 in 2.5 years and scheduled in over 3,000 new patients for 50 offices. So I didn't really like it either, but I learned that it wasn't one of those things that was a challenge. I just said, well, no one else likes to do this. And I just went and did it. And I realized that, the hardest part actually, if I can be honest, is setting up the damn booth and breaking the damn booth down.
Getting there and setting up, yeah.
So now if I have clients, I just show up and I'm like, hey, make sure that thing's set up and I'll come and get you new patients.
They do a lot of legwork, yeah.
But yeah, old school marketing still works. BNI groups still work.
Yep.
Referrals work, hanging out cards and say, give these to your friends. And, if I helped you, would you mind doing this for me? And, that reciprocity type environment that we can build with cards or that type of like, hey, would you give us a review if we've helped you? So that type of new school marketing, I think that was something you kind of like edged into. Are you doing any type of new school marketing and what's working for you?
Yeah, we're doing our best to stay on the some, social media is one of those love-hate things, right? So that is, it's important. It's something to utilize. You can just imagine what like you're saying, like BJ Palmer, Clarence Gonstead, like what would they be doing with Yelp and some of these platforms, Google reviews and things like that. So yeah, we definitely ask for people to give us, their Yelp reviews and Google reviews. And then there's like the whole Nextdoor app too. That's been really good for us that, someone moves new to the area and they got on this Nextdoor page and people tell them about our clinic. So, if you love them or hate them, you got to be on them. They're one of those things that it's just people are on them, and it's a good way to, I've never spent a dime on a Facebook ad. We did on Yelp, and well, I'm not going to do that again. Some of those things you can just organically grow by asking people to help you out. And that's just asking a patient to do you a huge favor, and getting their testimonials too. Like your clinic, it should be a billboard within your clinic, like having all these cool shadow boxes of people's prescription medications that they've gotten off of, and having the one in the bathroom, or like the old lady who would get up 5 times a night to pee doesn't have to do that anymore because, her L3 and lower back's working better, So that's one thing that's real cool too, is that to use your space, have these cool testimonials in your clinic.
So what's some advice that you would give to a chiropractic student, and should they choose their school based on geographic location?
Hell no. I think we were talking a little bit off camera before we started, and I did the opposite. I went to Northwestern, and the way I chose my school was I looked at board passing rate and loan default. So my school was fairly good at the time at that. So I wanted to be able to pass my boards, and that's kind of what I saw school as, was like, I just need to learn enough to pass the boards and get my license. I would not choose a school by geographic location. I chose Minnesota because there's nothing else to do there. I mean, it's freaking Bloomington, Minnesota. This is the Mall of America. I don't like shopping. And I didn't want to go to LACC because I knew Big Bear Mountain was pretty darn close and the beach was pretty close. I'd be a little too distracted. But I would choose a school that's going to give you a bit of for one, you need to pass your boards. That's what school is really about, right? But then also, and this is something my chiropractor told me, is like, go to every single like club that you can for like technique, like go to motion palpation, go to Gonstead, learn as much as you can. Well, for one, it's super free, like some of these clubs, they don't cost you anything but your evening. So as a student, I would be going to those many seminars as you can, because they're really cheap as a student, and learn as much as you can technique wise. Learn some Gonstead technique, learn motion palpation. So that way, when you have this patient that comes to you and they say, well, I don't like this way, but I do good with this way. I mean, sometimes we are target. The patient is right sometimes, and we just got to listen to them so that you can change your technique to fit the patient versus the patient having to change to fit your technique, So that's some advice I would give, is just, learn as much as you can out of school as well. Try and immerse yourself in those clubs. And
so we've never done this before either, but do you have any like message that you might like to share with your practice members about why you show up to the clinic every day?
What gets me excited? So
Yeah.
we do this in our vital shift, but it's really the opportunity to make someone's life better. That hopefully by them, making the decision to come to my office, to come to my clinic, that their life will change for the better, and they're going to function better. They're going to vibrate on a higher level, and they're going to have more appreciation for life and enjoy life better,
And I know that we met each other at a chiropractic seminar.
Yeah.
Are there other chiropractic what kind of seminars would you recommend to a student to attend? Because I know you said I was just going to start saying yes to everything.
Yeah. I kind of stopped there because all right, well, I got immersed in that. I didn't even get into the new year to say yes to anything else. CalJam is definitely one of those ones that you got to experience, and I just actually got an email the other day that they're hopefully going to be still doing it, but it's going to be outside in June. So I don't know if you guys knew that, but CalJam is definitely one you get a bit of everything there, right? Because I know you've been there several times. But then also, I don't know, not so much coaches, but mentors and people that can kind of, the ones that they say, right, we're in the trenches, right? Because we're all in practice, we're doing it. And I'd have a hard time taking advice from like business advice, like it's true, like, hey, you need to do it this way, when they're not actually right there doing it, So if you're going to do a mentor or coaching program, make sure they're doing it and they're testing their system. So I just went to an Elements of Closing seminar. I thought that was awesome. And then we had what's called a crash in Denver, which was really good. He rented an airport hangar. So we had 200 of us. We didn't have to wear masks. We were not social distancing. I'm not sick. It was a lot of fun. And we had some good speakers, and it was good to learn,
That's cool. Yeah, I think that's really user-friendly information, because people are like, well, there's like a new chiropractic event that pops up every 3 months now.
Yeah.
And I think like a granddad event like CalJam is something that should be recommended. And
Yep.
people should start following Billy DeMoss if they're not. And
Yes.
they should start following the Cal Jam Network if they're not, because on the Cal Jam Network, they pay $7 a month and they can watch every Cal Jam speaker since the inception of that whole program.
Mm-hmm. And listen to some of his talks too, like some of the education they do for their patients is you get, yeah. I mean, I'll do that a lot too. I'll just go back and watch an old Cal Jam episode or just, there's so much out there, you know. It's almost a point sometimes you like overstretch yourself, right? Like, wow, I got to do this, and this, and you run out of time.
Well, you are what you eat. I know that's something that people say, but you are also what you feed your mind. Yep. And I think that that's something that you were saying earlier. I don't watch much TV. You said that twice. And I don't watch much. I don't even own a TV. So if I'm like ever at a restaurant and I see like a sports game on, I'm like, I'm kind of watching that now. Yeah. So, you know, we are what we watch too. And whatever you show up to, whatever you read, whatever you listen to. And I think that that's where we're matriculating with this conversation with you now, is to get to know you a little bit better.
Yep.
What do you read? What do you listen to? What are some of your hobbies?
Yeah. I like to, you know, my wife and I will do half marathons. So we do a lot of endurance training. So I will listen to audiobooks. I typically like to have two going at a time. So one's kind of, one's professional growth, like whether it's business, or just kind of more motivation, like Lemonade or Grit. Grit was a great book I just got done listening to. But then also something in the health field too, you know, whether it's pharma or, you know, Why We Sleep. That was a good one. So I listen to audiobooks. Not a big sit down and read type of a person. I said I wouldn't do that after chiropractic school, but I catch myself every now and then reading books. But being that, you know, we do like a lot of endurance training, and I just went for talking to you, the 13-mile bike ride and mountain bike, and I'll listen to an audiobook while I'm doing that, you know? So some of the Grit was a really good one. If you haven't read that book or listened to that one, that's a real good one. And then, you know, I also read the Bible too. You know, that's one thing I do every morning, and that's part of my morning routine is get up and do my devotionals and kind of get plugged in, and then to get to work, right?
Well, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Can't think of. Well, first of all, I appreciate you guys, you know, everything you guys do. And I think I tell you every time I see you, but I do appreciate what you guys are doing for the profession. And hopefully as we do have more conversations like this, people that has no idea what chiropractic is might learn, like, hey, these quacks maybe know a thing or two, and give it a try and learn that, wow, my life can be better. My body can function better, you know, and I don't have to rely on all this crap. So, yeah.
Well,
I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate that too, man. You know, the thing that I love most about what Luke and I do is we have access to the greatest minds in the world.
Yeah.
And we've been able to connect with the greatest doctors on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And being able to build a network of just amazing healers and people that give a damn about their communities and want to see a better future. That's really what Chiro Hustle is.
Yeah.
And us preserving the free speech of chiropractic and documenting the profession of chiropractic. I don't think that there's anything really that's much more rewarding when it comes to being a creator or a journalist or a filmmaker or a producer, a podcaster. When you can find people of high level integrity and you can share their stories is the number one thing in the world that will sell, like the Bible.
Yeah.
And if you can compile enough stories, then you can change the minds and you can change the motivations. And I think that that's really what Luke and I have been able to take a deep dive into as a profession that's misunderstood and bring clarity to it.
Yeah, and two, getting out and get to know your neighbors, right? Where I started my practice, there's 5 chiropractors within a quarter mile, and I know every single one of them. I know their technique. I know what they're about, and it's, you know, we're not competition, because like how many % of the people actually use chiropractic like they should? So that's your team too, right? You know, it's like, get to know your neighbors, you know, go out and introduce yourself, and you may be complete separate technique, and like they may send you some patients here and there too, because like what they do doesn't resonate with the patient, so, and can always just help each other grow, don't see each other as competition, because we're all in it together, and we're trying to make this world better by changing people up,
Brilliant advice, because I think that when people are networking with their community, they feel more complete. And if you look at it, it's like if a guy had a gas station, it's like, yeah, the gas station down the street, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Like, they don't think that. They're like, you're going to get your gas wherever the gas station is, and I should have stuff in here you can buy.
Yeah.
That's the way a gas station owner thinks. They're like, oh, gosh, you work for that gas station? You suck. Like, no. I bet never a gas station owner ever said that.
I don't like the pediatrician a couple doors down, bastard. Good quick story. I had this patient, she came to me with her daughter, and her daughter had some acid reflux, and the doctor wanted to give her some medication for it. She's like, I'm not putting my daughter on that medication. He went and gets John Hopkins' book. This is why you need to put your daughter on this medication, because I'm not going to do it. Is there any other alternative? She's like, there's a chiropractor down the way. I'm going to go try him. I was like, he's not going to be able to do anything. They don't even have a license. He just has a certificate. I'm like, really? She poops and digests just fine right now, and their whole family's under care. So
So where can people go if they want to learn more about you?
Mitchell Chiropractic AZ. That's our .com. That's our website. I do have Facebook. Scott Mitchell DC is our clinic one. And then just Scott Mitchell. That's just my personal one. That's where I do most of my socializing there.
Well, we want to thank you for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, man. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
It's cool to hear the dogs in the background too. I like the ambient sounds.
Yeah.
And,
I got them changed up right now. So.
And it's always great to connect with like-minded individuals that support what we do. And Luke and I just want to have you have a great rest of your day, and keep on serving, brother.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully we'll get to see you soon. That means we're back at another seminar.
For sure.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Take care. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.